Hi everyone, and it's that time of the month again. It's the monthly, the monthly full moon, and full moon is a culmination of a previous cycle, and this one has certainly been interesting. And being an astrologer, I know, they're all interesting, aren't they? But this is post Mercury retrograde and post Venus retrograde, and it feels like it's post a lot, actually. It feels like something has shifted, new perspective has arrived. And we're still, waltzing around in some Neptunian land where everything can shift rather quickly. And from last time, there's been some incredible shifts astrologically, actually. Especially this full moon highlights a very important connection that will follow us for the coming 18 months. And it's squaring the nodal axis in with the south node in Scorpio and the north node in Venus exactly. That brings in a whole lot of fixed energy to this current lunar picture. Fixed energy is creative, it is focused, it is centrifugal in its power. If you ask any fixed sign human beings, they like to focus in on their creative efforts and actually remain rather undisturbed in their process of manifesting their life's goal. It's always helpful to have fixed planets in a chart when you want to have the stamina and energy to complete something. And it's rather stubborn, this quality, when it's fixed on something that it desires, something that it sees is possible, and something that its heart is yearning for. And when we come to Aquarius, also something that humanity needs. So on the fixed cross, we have quite a creative focus. And the full moon is now today in Leo. Leo is it's the heart of the zodiac, it's the radiant light, the sun, the star at the center of our solar system. The sun is in Aquarius, which is known to be the opposite, the cool, detached, the observant. It's not so spontaneous, it's not so eagerly participating in joy and playfulness as Leo is. But together, they create an incredible creative momentum. Together, they inspire change, they inspire creation, they inspire playfulness. And I think playfulness has been the theme that I've been thinking on mostly lately. Because if your heart's not in it, how are you going to complete any journey that you're on? It's very difficult if your heart's not in it. And the heart is the heart. It's not something you can discuss or debate or deny. You can't force it either. It's the same with love. You can't suppress it. It will boomerang back to you if you try. And you can't force it. It's impossible to force love. So, in a way, love is its own law and it's very, very individualistic. What you love is not necessarily what the other person loves. It tells you a lot about you, who you really are at your core, through the things that you love, the activities that you love, the hobbies that you love, the people you love. We've recently, well, that was yesterday actually, we celebrated the Day of Love. And we are still in the midst of the festival that the Romans celebrated back in the days when they wanted to find an appropriate mate. It was rather brutal back in the days, but as time morphed and the church, as usual, hijacked these traditions um, and made it more lovey-dovey, made it more about the heart and less about that raw desire that was the Romans' approach to it. Um, this day of love, Valentine's Day, morphed into an expression of something more etheric, also something more pure. And worst case scenario, the Puritan approach to it. That's rather serious. It's not full of joy and fun and play as we would like to associate anything Leonian with. But this day of celebration of love, um, in this particular time, which is at the end of an astrological age where we're slightly disenchanted by how love is treated and how we treat love, um, and how things evolve on Earth for the time being. Right now, Valentine's Day is $1 billion business more than anything. And for many people, it's just something that doesn't make sense. It feels hollow, it feels empty and devoid of anything that is real. This is not a good age for romantics. That's usually what I say. And in many ways, in our more cynical world where people are treated like objects, it's not always easy to follow your heart, but it's very difficult to live without it. And that would be a little bit of the personal themes that you might be going through in your life for the time being. You know, you would want to follow love in your life, you want to create something that makes sense. From a Leonian perspective, we know that life is very, very short. It's like a breath of fresh air, and boom, it's over. But something deep inside of us never grows old. You can be 84 and still feel like you're 14 inside, especially if you manage to keep that fire burning. We treat the full moons as more ritualistic in the esoteric traditions. It's more a heightening of awareness around the energies that are there. They're passing quite quickly, so they're more symbolic more than anything else. Even though they might culminate certain themes in your life and make it really visible what you're really going through and what you're working through in your own personal journey, it's also something that is over rather quick. The lunar cycles, they ebb and flow all the time. So it might not feel like a longer during transit, like one of these Uranus transits or Pluto transits that last forever, but still the seeding, the culmination of the seeding that is the new moon, and the culmination of that seed, which is the full moon, can tell us a lot about um, the current situation that would lead us to our longer goals. And right now, I checked up just for fun. You know, these Sabian symbols. I don't know if you heard about them, but for each degree in the zodiac, there was this psychic called Elsie Wheeler, who back in the 30s, together with an astrologer called Mark Jones, channeled a symbol for each degree in the zodiac. And I've used them with increasing curiosity because I find them to be quite apt and to the point. And this particular full moon lands on a very interesting spot called Many Little Birds on a Limb of a Large Tree. And it sort of reflects back to what I said about being creative. You have all these options out, Mercury is done with its retrograde, you're trying to figure out what's the next path. We've been through the motions of deep um, destructions in our societies. Many had to quit their jobs and start new ones. The whole COVID situation made a lot of us think about um, what really matters on this planet that we're on. And what matters is something that comes from the heart, because that's something that nobody can take away from you, right? So the joy of following it, even if you can't do it like 24/7 because there's duties and stuff, you can at least apply some of it every day. What makes you happy? What people makes you playful again? Playfulness is such an important aspect of creativity. And when the sun is moving through Aquarius, she's a little self conscious. She's aware of herself. She's um, always and constantly reflecting upon her actions. And it's not always in a gentle and loving way. She might be rather stern and harsh. And you probably noticed that I call the sun a she. Everything in the manifested universe is yin. That's how I see it. So back to the self-consciousness and the challenge between the moon in Leo that just wants to play and have fun, that just wants to live through its spontaneous expression, and the sun in its rather objective and cold judgment of that particular playfulness. You get to a point where the many little birds that this Sabian symbol reflects points to all the different options that you now might find you have in your life. Maybe there's a choice you have to make. Maybe there is the roads are diverging and you have to pick one. Maybe you have to close one door so that you can open another. It squares the south node in Scorpio, so there is this rather intense vibration that is being brought in, that there is something rather important about these life choices. There is something that weighs a little bit in terms of understanding your true motivations for doing things. The South Node journey through Scorpio will certainly make us aware of what is the difference between desire and what is the difference between need. He sings, "You can't always get what you want," in the Rolling Stones theme song. And Coldplay sings, "When you get what you want, but not what you need." These are things that, can be quite important to think of when you go to the assumption that that you think you want something out of love, but then you discover you wanted it because you desired it so much. And it wasn't necessarily love that made you desire it, it was rather lack. So some of these choices, these life choices that you have, might spring out of desperation or might spring out of what you thought you needed, but that could not necessarily were true. While other choices that you feel are calling you comes from a much deeper place inside of you, from the joy, from the love, and that's a greater calling. I'm quite. I must say, I'm a little enthusiastic when it comes to the concept of love, because I'm surprised by the incredible importance and power it carries in our lives. There is only one healer, it said, and it's love. And love is very different from desire because love is free. It's not attached like desire is. And that's when you know the difference. That's when you know you're going for it out of love. And love will carry you into places you didn't even know you had to go. And that required courage. Le cœur, it's called in French. Courage. That's the heart. Le cœur. I read one of the most beautiful updates on Facebook for this particular Valentine's, and it's this couple. They live in Australia actually, and they've been married for quite a bit of time. And she wrote so beautifully about how that power of love got them into places that they never knew they had to go. They had to venture through an evolution that required everything from them, much more than they previously had thought. It was not this la la fidum fidum Disney variety of love. No, it really took them through challenges that I can only imagine were quite demanding. Maybe even darkness. They had to go places where they met the fear of death, of loss, perhaps. The theme is there, the fear of loss. It's there, right there on the South Node in Scorpio. And since this is a very exact square, I think it's worth mentioning. Don't choose something because you're afraid of losing, or don't avoid making a choice because you're afraid of the loss. Death and life are intertwined. This is what perhaps the Aquarius sun is pondering right now as it's looking upon the very axis of creativity as it's doing now. You have Taurus, the North Node, which is sustainable longevity, the life that lives forever. the love that lives forever. And then you have Scorpio, the death, the loss, the memories of everything you once lost. And then the playful moon in Leo comes in and it pushes this button and it says, all right, human being, what is it that you really, really, really want deep inside your heart? The very thing you might not even dare to ask about. You might think it's too much to ask about. Oh dear, stars and planets and gods and whatnots. Is that really possible? Is that possible when you wish upon a star? Is that possible? That's the child's heart, full of wonder, full of expectation. And it's so dangerous because just next to expectation lies the possibility of disappointment. And that's why also a lot of people fear making choices. But as we're looking at all the little birds on the tree through this Sabian symbol, you got to choose something, right? The options are there. Mercury is done with its retrograde. Jupiter is way over in Pisces by now, and it's saying you got to have faith. Faith is not a guarantee. Faith is that inner voice, it's that vision that you hold on to. And you have to hold on to it, especially when it's cloudy, it's rainy, you have a ton of bills to pay, you have no idea what's the next step. No signs have arrived yet. This is the hero's journey, and we're all on it in one way or another. Because deep inside us lies that need for a life, and life is purpose, life is meaning. When you're looking at the astrology chart, you're looking for yourself. This is one of the most creative axes in, well, this is the creative axis in astrology. And it's about self development, it's about evolution, it's about creativity and purpose. And it's about giving that to humanity in one form or the other without judgment. We can't all be leaders and pop stars and whatnots. Maybe that's not what we need, even. We need more people of like mind. We need more playmates. We need more people to be creative and have fun with. That gives purpose. And there's so much shadow when it comes to leadership on earth today, and how we've seen spiritual leaders as well, enter the stage. There's always this, fear of being slightly corrupted. Power is easily, can easily corrupt people. And we've seen that. But doesn't kind of take away um, the necessity of you taking leadership in your own life, which is very much implied in this particular full moon. You might not know exactly yet, but the proper guide that you should follow is the heart. Considering this fact that you're well aware of your inner motivations, also on that shadow end of Scorpio South Node, which is definitely important to become aware of. The South Node is part of the lunar transit. That's, the South Node and the North Node is where the eclipses occur. So they are naturally part of the solilunar cycle. Mm. And the South Node in particular is bringing up what you could say the lower spectrum of any sign. It doesn't really matter which sign, it will always bring in the most unconscious part of that sign and flood it to the surface so that it can become conscious. Now, with Scorpio, the inner motivations of doing anything to, giving something, offering your gifts, uh, uh, becoming extremely lovable to get some love, whatever is your true motivation, Scorpio will reveal it for you. And then you will see whether it's done on a true or a false basis, whether your actions are founded on true or false basis. It's easy to fool yourself, and that's one of the most easiest things on planet Earth. People can convince themselves of quite a bit. And sometimes it is because we need to survive a particular moment in time that is difficult and there's no other options but to accept this particular situation. But very often it can cloak a fear of failure, also a fear of greatness. I think, what was it? Someone said, the only thing you really need to that people really fear is their own greatness. Do you want to be the star of your life? You want to be the center of the universe? You are the navel of this particular cosmos. I am the navel too. I am at the center of everything that happens around me. And it's supposed to be like that. It's like I'm guarding, I'm doing my thing as a co-creator with other people. And if I do my thing in love, it will just keep spreading. It's like a love revolution. It just spreads. If I'm happy, the guy in the store will be happy. My smile will be contagious, but I can't fake it. You can't fake happiness. It doesn't work like that. And it's not always possible to be happy, and that's not what we're supposed to be either. It's very normal to have a bad day. But the more in alignment you are with your heart, the easier it will be to access that happiness, even on a dark day. It's your true strength. Some metaphysical studies shows that the magnetic field around the heart is pretty big. There's like this energy that comes out of the heart, penetrates walls and everything. That's what love does. It's a little wonder I'm fascinated, but still, it's very, very hard to believe in it. We tend to have less trouble gravitating towards fear. And it was Franklin D. Roosevelt who said in his famous speech in 1939, I think it was, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And wow, that's probably quite true for the times we're living in, right? The only thing to fear is fear itself. We have a lot to worry about, don't we? There's this law and that law, and then I saw they wanted to do this change and that change. Oh dear Lord, you can lay up all night thinking about this, and playfulness is just whoop out the window. But it's only draining you of that incredible vital life force that will be so important to nurture and maintain in the time to come. It was always important to maintain and nurture. But that's the true power you really have. And that's the point of influence, where you can reach other people and you can create this uplifted dream that you might be dreaming of. Oh, I wish I met more cool people. They might be right in front of you. I wish I had, this opportunity, and the opportunity might be right in front of you, but it might not be in the form you think it should be, but it will be exactly what you need it to be. We can't all be Rembrandt. I wish I would. I wish I would be Rembrandt, but I can't be Rembrandt because there's only one Rembrandt. But I can't stop painting either. That would be ridiculous because it gives me so much joy. Why would I say no to that? So, why am I doing it? Out of love, of course, the connection I feel. Hopefully, maybe I won't end up with 300 billion paintings on my loft and nobody wants to see them. Maybe I get to share them with the world. And that becomes the big question. It needs to go out to Aquarius too. So if you're stalling, you're holding back, don't want to show off your playfulness to the world, it might be because you're afraid of how people will respond to it. Now, in Norway, where I'm currently at and where I'm from, we have this magnificent law called the Law of Jante. Jante, it's an author who wrote these 10 laws, 10 commandments, and it was actually kind of satirical. It was about how the petty, low minds wanted to kill creativity. And as an author, he probably had a lot of experiences being met with this, "Oh, who do you think you are? This kind of attitude. Yeah, who do you think you are? You think you're better than us?" That's the law of Jante. That's the first law of Jante, the first rule of Jante. It's magnificent. It's just hilarious and to the point. Of course, in an ideal world, people would support us, but you can't expect it, can you? You have to find it from within. That's the North Node in Taurus. It's reaching out for your autonomy, for your power, for your conviction. It's trusting your resources and your talents. This is really working towards creating something of value. For who? Well, mostly for you. Sting said, music is its own reward. What a great thing to say, huh? Music is its own reward. Matisse said, I paint because that's the energy that moves through me. Creative people have always inspired me, you know. Um, the attitude to life is what inspires me with creative people. They're very in the moment. And if anything, Leo lives and thrives in this moment. Now, of course, it doesn't exclude planning, it doesn't exclude being realistic, it doesn't exclude priorities, but it inspires that as many times as possible, you can take a leap of faith and live in the moment, have some fun, be playful, don't think too much, be spontaneous, express your heart. It's guaranteed not just to change your life, actually, but it's guaranteed to brighten up everything around you. And that's when you become a true gardener. I tend to see us as gardeners. We're here tending the little flowers of life. And if you speak well to your plants, they will grow and be healthy and happy. They've done some experiments on that. If you yell at them, they're like, oh God, get me out of here. I'm withering. So, in this particular full moon, you might be feeling into something that happened in your childhood that prevented you from glowing just exactly how you are. I know it might seem like a cliche or like, whoa, a bit much, right? But it's true. How can we inspire anyone to be creative if we won't allow them to express themselves as they are? It's very individualistic what you love. You know, what I love is different from another person's love. And that's the beauty of humanity, I think. This magnitude and multitude of expressions. And there's nothing that inspires me more than a playful human being. Homo sapiens, you joyful, playful twat. What are you up to now, Leonardo da Vinci? I mean, imagine being that inspired. Incredible. So, great things weren't created by people who are sucking onto their routines all the time. Great things, great evolution came through people who really had a sense of adventure, who really couldn't give a damn what other people thought, who were loyal to something deep, deep inside of themselves, who listened to their inner calling. And it's a great journey. It's a great quest. It's difficult. It's probably the most difficult thing you've ever done in your entire life. But at one point, you don't have a choice anymore, especially if you've chosen, if you choose to live life by your heart. And for me, it's the only thing that makes sense. Mm, yeah. So today has been a day of encountering quite a few playful people. I've been talking about Mardi Gras and Burning Man and making music and painting and, you know, playing. It's been one of those days. I had quite a bit of fun today. So that's the intention I set for this full moon is to have an experience of what comes through naturally in my own heart. And for that, I also would really love it for you guys if you had that intention. Life is short. Make it matter. And if it only matters for you, that's more than enough. Because if you're happy, the guy next to you will be more happy and easier access his own happiness and joy and respect and love and all the things that are true, good, and beautiful. So that's what I'm aiming for. Thank you very much for following me on this full moon update, and I see you guys next month.